The words left Hank Rourke's lips like dust in the wind, dry and trembling. The sky above the canyon burned red, and the smell of gunpowder still clung to the air. He knelt in the dirt, hat gone, shirt torn, one hand clutching the wound in his side that leaked warmth down his fingers. Across from him stood the man they once called his brother. Elias Crow, N01, said his name now, without lowering their voice. The Devil's Eyes, they called them that in every saloon from Tucson to El Paso. Black as coal, steady as sin, and void of anything human. Elias holstered his revolver slow, his spurs whispering as he took a step forward. "You think it's mercy you're a skin for, Hank?" His voice was calm, almost tender. "After what you did," Hank swallowed hard. "After what I did, I ain't expecting mercy, just an end." The wind howled through the canyon like a dying thing. Elias stopped just a few paces away. His boots crunched on the gravel. "You still remember Red Creek?" Hank's eyes flicked up. "How could I forget? Red Creek, where they'd buried half their gang after the Pinkertons came. Where Elias's wife had bled out in his arms because Hank's greed had led them into an ambush." Elias crouched, his shadow falling over Hank's face. "You promised me, brother. You swore we'd make it clean." "I did," Hank rasped, "and I lost everything for it. Ain't that enough?" Elias smiled, slow and cold. "Not nearly." He drew the revolver again. Hank flinched, but he didn't beg this time. There was no point. The devil didn't deal in forgiveness. But then, something flickered behind Elias's eyes. Not mercy, but memory. A single drop of the man he used to be. He hesitated, and Hank saw it. The crack that he lunged. The world erupted in thunder. Gunfire echoed off the canyon walls. When the smoke cleared, two men stood, one breathing hard, the other staring blankly at the setting sun. Hank staggered, clutching his stomach, trying to understand why the devil's gun hadn't barked twice. Elias lowered his weapon, jaw tight, eyes glassy. "You don't deserve quick," he said quietly. "You deserve time, to feel every heartbeat that don't belong to you." Hank's legs buckled. He hit the dirt, dust rising around him like smoke from hell's own pit. Elias turned and walked away, the dying sun throwing his long shadow against the canyon walls. Behind him, the wind carried the whisper again, weak, fading, desperate. Elias didn't look back. He couldn't. The sound of Hank's ragged breathing clawed at the edges of his mind like a dying animal scratching at the door of a burning barn. He'd heard that sound before, too many times. Men choking on their own blood, whispering prayers that never reached heaven. But he holstered his Colt, the metal still warm from the shot that should have finished things. His boots sank into the dust as he made his way toward his horse, tethered beneath the dead tree on the ridge. The sky above had turned the color of old whiskey, bleeding into black. The Devil's Eyes, they called them. But even the devil felt something once he untied the reins. But before mounting, he froze. A sound cut through the canyon, soft at first, then stronger. The distinct click of a rifle being cocked. "Don't move, Crow." The voice came from the shadows. A woman's voice, calm, steady, and ice cold. Elias turned slowly. She stepped into the dying light, rifle aimed square at his chest. Her face was streaked with soot and fury, her hair tied back in a tattered red ribbon. "Sarah," Elias said, the name barely a whisper. "Don't." Her voice cracked. "You don't get to say my name." "Sarah Rourke, Hank's sister, the one Elias had left behind the night Red Creek burned." She tightened her grip on the rifle. "He's down there dying, Elias. My brother. And you walk away?" Elias met her gaze. "He deserves worse than dying, Sarah." Her eyes glistened. "And what do you deserve?" For a long moment, neither spoke. The canyon held its breath, the air thick with smoke and ghosts. Elias took a single step forward, slow enough to let her decide. "Shoot me if you need to," he said. "But it won't change what's already done." Sarah's hands trembled. "You think you're the only one haunted? You think you're the only one who lost someone that day?" Elias tilted his head. "You weren't there when she screamed, Sarah. You didn't watch the light go out of her eyes." Her finger twitched on the trigger. "You left her to die? You left me to pick up the pieces." Elias's jaw tightened. "And your brother, he's the reason she's gone. I left him alive so he'd live with it." The silence that followed was sharp as a blade. Then, slowly, Sarah lowered the rifle. "Then you'll live with it too," she said. She turned her back to him, heading down the slope toward where Hank lay groaning in the dirt. The sound of her boots faded into the night. Elias stood there, staring at the place where she'd vanished. For a moment, He thought of following, of finishing it. But something in him, something human, kept his hand from reaching for the gun again. That he looked up at the stars, faint and cold above the desert. They'd watched every killing, every lie, every sin. They'd never looked away. The wind carried Hank's voice one last time, faint and hollow. "Please, just make it quick." Elias mounted his horse, his shadow melting into the darkness as the devil rode on, alone, silent, and damned by the sound of mercy he could never grant.